Well, hello everybody, I am Spegtacular, the Silver Stacular. Today, I want to go over 3 mistakes that you're probably going to make when it comes to stacking silver. All right, first I do want to say that I am Spegtacular, as you can see right here. Hopefully you're doing okay. And, if the video brings you value at all, if you are interested in the information, subscribe, thumbs up, leave comments down below. I would appreciate all of that stuff. Share it if you have the time. I want to talk about 3 mistakes, and I know these mistakes really well because maybe I've made a few of them or all of them. And I think some of you can probably leave a comment down below and let me know if you've actually made one of these mistakes too. And you probably have, because they're pretty common mistakes. And so without further ado, let's get right into the mistakes. First, I want to say paying too much. That is mistake number 1, or uno, depending on, what you speak. Mistake number 1, paying too much. What does that mean? Well, I have poured silver right here in front of me. This stuff tends to have a premium because it's more art than it is just bullion value. But we can ignore this stuff because that has a different value. Collector's value, so like Morgan dollars, peace dollars, numismatic stuff, that's totally different than actually stacking physical silver, just bullion only. And what do I mean, like paying too much? I mean, like, I've seen many comments on my videos of people giving really terrible advice saying, first of all, it doesn't matter what you pay for silver because the true value is X. And whatever X is, they might say $500, they might say $1,000, $200, $100, whatever the case may be, because they believe that at one point, silver is going to go to those numbers. And that aside, let's go ahead and keep those beliefs to the side. It's not there right now. So if you pay a crazy amount over spot for just regular bullion, what favor are you doing yourself? Because the lower that you can pay, obviously, the more you can get. So, you got to shop around for this stuff. And don't always go after the first deal. Don't trust the websites either that tend to have only the best deals. There's actually a lot of illegitimate sites out there. And people send me messages and emails all the time giving me different links for websites that are just fly by night. They're there today. They buy some silver eagles there for what seems like a too good to be true price, and it is. That website is actually gone tomorrow. So trust reliable sites. You know that I've always suggested the big boys and girls like APMEX, JM Bullion, Monument Metals. Provident Metals is owned by JM Bullion now. SD Bullion, Silver Gold Bull. There's so many different ones out there that are legitimate sites, but there's just way more illegitimate sites. Also, be careful about buying from just people on the internet. Now, I tend to sell some precious metals once in a while. I feel like I'm a reliable source, and no, I'm not selling any of this stuff, so don't even ask. But, you have to be careful. There's, forums, Reddit communities, etc., that have people that are selling precious metals that are just making accounts and trying to lure people in and, selling stuff to people. It can be dangerous. It can be scary, and they're asking for payment sources where there's no guarantees and no protections on your end. So they could just go ahead and just not send you anything, and you paid them, and now there's nothing that can be done. So, be careful who you trust. But, back to the point, don't pay too much, and don't take advice from the wrong people. There's people out there that, like I said, say, oh, silver's going to the moon, silver's going to 1,000. And when you hear that, you get antsy in your pantsies and you go out there and you start spending money like crazy because you believe that this stuff right here is going to the moon. Doesn't make a lot of sense in my mind, personally, that it's going to go crazy. You remember when they confiscated gold, right? The United States did. They, said that you couldn't hold, too much gold, and they needed it for their reserve, blah, blah, blah. That occurred in United States history, and if silver, which is a super useful industrial metal, the best conductor of heat and electricity out there, and has so many different uses. Very much of this stuff is needed now for all these electric cars and solar panels, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, a lot of stuff, even medicine for some uses with the silver. And beyond that, just so many things. If there is truly a silver shortage, why would the government not step in and go, hey, listen, no more hoarding this stuff. We need it for our everyday lives. Otherwise, we're not going to have computers, solar panels, battery-operated cars, all this stuff. They would stop you from buying it if there was a silver shortage. So there's plenty of silver out there. Don't pay too much for it. Shop around, but shop at the reliable places. And if a deal seems too good to be true, man, just really, really question what's going on. Many people never sell this stuff at or below spot. Every now and then you can get at spot deals. Those are becoming more and more rare. But below spot, there's not a lot of people do that. Not a lot of people. Every now and then one of us or two of us, like on YouTube or something like that, do it for fun on our channels, just as a way to, kind of build our name. But it's not like you're going to go buy 100 ounces, for less than spot. Okay, so that's mistake number one, paying too much. That's an obvious one, but so many people make that mistake. They send me emails saying, hey, Spegtacular, I went to this website and it's gone today. What's going on, Just be very careful out there. Be very careful. Okay, next is buying too much silver. Whoa, you can buy too much silver? Well, I think of silver as like the change, when you're talking about money. Like dollar bills, that's the big stuff. And then your quarters, your nickels, your dimes, those are the change. I think of this stuff as the change. Whereas your gold would be the dollars, the big stuff. And what I would recommend is definitely buy silver. There's no reason not to buy it. It's a great metal to invest in, to stack, just to look at. It's just, would you look at it? Just would you look at it? It's awesome looking. And you can do so much with it, if you're poor. But buying too much when you could be buying other things. And gold is one. Gold's very expensive. But if you have, let's say, 5,000 ounces of silver, why did you not put some of that into gold? Why not? How are you going to move this stuff? If you needed to move silver quickly, are you going to move 5,000 ounces of this stuff? What an absolute nightmare. When you could move just a few ounces of gold, which would be a lot easier in my opinion. So be careful about buying too much. Definitely stack gold if you're starting to get into the high numbers on silver. There's no reason not to. Gold is a great investment. It's a great preservation of wealth. I would say, and I would argue, that gold is a better preservation of wealth than silver is. You can hate me for that all you want, because here I am, Spegtacular, the silver stacular, as you can see right there, right? I should only believe in silver, but I have other beliefs as well. And, like beyond gold and silver, if you're buying just a crazy amount of silver, think about other investments too, stocks, like even cryptos to some small degree should be in your portfolio rather than only silver and only gold. So if you're buying a lot of that stuff, if you're making your portfolio of investments too high of a percentage and only silver, really consider that you might be buying too much of the stuff, and you might want to go ahead and just, stifle a little bit and chill out and go to another investment, because there is a lot of other choices out there. Again, not that silver is bad. You just got to chill out. Whoa, I dropped that. You know what I mean? I think you do. I think you understand what I'm saying. Some people may not like to hear this stuff. Some people are going to be like, wow. And I've seen it in the comments before. This guy doesn't understand. I don't understand. I've been there, man. I've been in the game for a little while now, and I see a lot of newcomers coming in, and they're just buying as much silver as they can because somebody on Reddit or on YouTube or on some website told them, now's the time, there's a silver shortage, you got to stack hard, we're trying to break the COMEX, whatever the case may be. Just chill out. Don't trust everybody on the internet. Like, just do your own research and and buy right. Buy right is not putting 100% of your money into this stuff. Spread out your investments. I think most people, wise investors, believe that 10% or less of your portfolio should be in precious metals. I think mine is actually a little bit more than that, but that's up to you. That's a personal thing. That's really what you believe in. I wouldn't go 100%. I wouldn't go 50%. But again, don't trust all the bad advice out there, and there's a lot of it. Just keep a level head about yourself. All right, that was mistake number 2, and most likely you're going to make it, or you already have. And along with number 1, as well, paying too much. You probably have paid too much for silver. I know I have a time or two. I'm guilty of it, so don't think that I'm immune from making a mistake just because I have a YouTube channel. I've made mistakes too, and that's why I'm here to warn people and tell you to be careful. All right, and mistake number 3, and this is my absolute favorite mistake, is not being ready to buy precious metals when the time is right. And what do I mean by that? I take, before the pandemic for sure, a few years before that, I remember going into bullion shops, coin shops, pawn shops, and looking into their precious metals, which was around $14, $15 an ounce for silver at the time. And nobody was in these stores. I mean, nobody. Take Coin Guy, for example. Coin Guy, I'd go into his shop, I would see nobody in there. Nobody. And that guy, he's world famous now. World famous Coin Guy. But nobody was in his shop buying precious metals when the price was low. And it's because nobody was really talking about it. I mean, investment companies would always say, keep a small amount of your portfolio in precious metals. But that was it. There was no big news stories, headlines, et cetera, et cetera. That was not happening. So I'd go into these places and they were loaded full of all kinds of bullion, just low prices, silver eagles for $1 over spot, $1.50 over spot. And even then people were complaining, they're like, oh geez, why do I got to pay $1.50 over spot for silver eagles? This is crazy. Now you're paying $10 over and you're complaining too. So, what's worse? But people weren't buying then. The stuff was there, it was available, and people were just shying away from it because it wasn't big news. It wasn't a story. People on Reddit, on YouTube wasn't just, blowing this stuff up to the degree like they are right now. And so be ready, have money set aside. And I don't mean money as in physical gold and silver, which people say, is money. And I agree to some degree. But I mean actual fiat currency, paper currency, your bills. Have that stuff set aside for when the time is right to buy this stuff. During the pandemic, we seen $11 silver, and nobody was thinking that was going to happen because here you have a crisis. You had all the stuff going on, the rioting, the looting, the pandemic itself, and silver dropped. Silver went to $11, which doesn't really make a lot of sense, right? But people weren't ready to buy then. People were struggling. People were worried and concerned. I was a buyer at $11. Now, it was hard to find. You couldn't really find it at $11. You're paying a little bit over for sure for a premium. I recommended at the time some different websites that you could have bought the silver for as cheap as possible at that time. And, many people weren't ready. Many people were impatient too. They made rumors saying these websites were going under. That's why they're selling so cheap, blah, blah, blah. Those websites never went under. Those websites were just selling cheap because that's what they did. They sold cheap. And if you could have been ready at that time, you could have reaped the benefit. 4 or 5 years ago, when silver was $14, $15, $16 an ounce, you could have reaped the benefits then. But you weren't interested in it then because it wasn't newsworthy. People on Reddit weren't, suggesting it's going to $1,000, that they have to break the COMEX, you have to buy all you can buy. So be ready. Be ready when the time is right, because that time will come back. You listen to the wrong advice and you're going to see people saying, oh, silver's going to the moon, $1,000. That's what it needs to be, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense at all to me. And the world will be in a pretty nasty place if silver goes to that degree and gold goes to $10,000, like people say, or even $5,000. The world's in a nasty place because this stuff goes up based on the craziness of the world, usually, except for that little stall there that they had during the beginning of the pandemic, like I said, when it went down to $11. That was kind of weird. But sure enough, it shot back up. And if you were able to buy at those prices, you made out. So those are the three mistakes that a lot of us have made. Even 4 or 5 years ago when prices were that low and I seen nobody at the shops, and I'm in there buying, man, I could have bought more. I made that mistake of not buying enough. I could have definitely went a little crazier. I'm happy with what I did. Don't get me wrong. I'm not regretting anything, but I could have been more ready for sure. And I tell you about my mistakes because I want you to try to be a better stacker than I've ever been. And I'm talking about bullion, and here I am showing off my poured silver collection, which is totally not the same. I get it. This is just the artwork that I collect, and I thought it'd be fun to do that while I was talking about mistakes being made. Anyways, like I said, hopefully you found some value in this. Hopefully those 3 mistakes don't happen to you anymore, because you're going to be totally ready now. You're totally ready to combat the mistakes. But chances are you've been in one of those situations. You've made those little mistakes too. And maybe you've learned from them. Maybe you have. And I hope you have. And I hope that you can impart your knowledge onto others, because wouldn't that be great, right? That's kind of what I try to do here is, my mistakes can now be knowledge for you. Anyways, I got to go for now. I know I didn't get to the end of this box. Just pretend like I got to all of it. And that wasn't really my goal, but I was just trying to show off some stuff while I was talking, while I was chit-chatting. Anyways, I got to go for now. Spegtacular is out.